Happy New Year, everyone. Welcome to season 2 of Phoenix Talks. Diane and I are so excited that we are starting our second year with this amazing podcast. Say Happy New Year, Diane.
Happy New Year, everyone. This is such a great conversation tonight,
Oh,
Mike.
I know. I can't wait. And the crazy thing is I got the inspiration on New Year's Day. I'm like, okay, I really need to figure out what topic it is that we're going to talk about. And I'm like, at first I was just like, oh my God, so many people are just going to talk about resolutions. Nobody wants to hear about that because so many resolutions just fizzle out. And then I was like, oh, let's talk about that.
Yeah.
So we're going to talk about New Year's fizzolutions.
Yep.
It's a made-up word by yours truly.
Absolutely. But yeah, it works.
It works because how many times, how many years have people said, "Oh, I'm going to make this change next year," and they go into they wait for that ball to drop on New Year's Eve, and then they're just all excited, all gung ho, and they're going to make this change. They're going to do it, and then by the end of January, they're like, "I don't want to do this anymore."
Yep. We've all been there, all of
Every
us.
single one of us. Bringing up the live chat so I can keep an eye on that while we're chatting. All right, and sliding the computer over so I don't have to look quite so far off screen. So, what do you want to say about it first?
Okay, so when you first sent that to me, I knew exactly what you were talking about. Like, oh yeah, that's perfect. Because we all experience this. And I think one of the things that we can help folks with is to remind them of how to keep it going. And I think that we should talk about reevaluating priorities and making a decision on what that priority is.
Mm-hmm. Now, one of my coaches said, "What's the one thing? Don't focus on anything else, but just focus on one thing that you can decide to make a change on." I don't really know what that one is for me. There's so many things that I've been personally working on throughout the last couple of years, getting just to this point. But how do we prioritize? How do we look at what it is that we want to work on, where we're at? If you've been following me on Facebook, if you haven't started, make sure you click the link below so that you can give it's in my profile. It's that little bit.ly at the top of the page. So if you've been following my personal Facebooks, I've been doing some lives about prioritizing and taking a look at your values and your beliefs and taking a look at your limiting beliefs. But look, if you made that list, well, half your work is already done. If you haven't made that list, here's my suggestion, and Diane can give hers in a second. Go through and take a list of what it is that you want. What do you want to achieve, or what do you just want? Do what I call a brain dump. And do this when you first wake up, either from a nap or in the morning, because that is when you are still in theta state. And it's the best time to do one of these brain dumps because you're not thinking. So, what do I want? Okay, what else? What else? Okay. All right. What else? And just keep doing that until you've gotten to the end of the list that you can possibly make, and you just can't think anymore. And if I don't get that damn coffee, I'm just gonna lose my. Okay.
So I'm gonna piggyback onto that and say after you decide what it is that you want, and that list grows, decide what's most important.
Mm-hmm.
Sneak in that prioritizing part. The reason for that is because the easiest way to make sure that things don't become fizzolutions
Right.
is to make it the top priority. And that's Marie. I'm gonna have to go fetch her. Give me a moment. And what do you do with regards to prioritizing?
Well, it's literally taking a look at each of the items that you've written down or that you've thought about and number them in importance. Is this more important than this? Is this more important than that? Whatever the case, however you want to go about it. I'm sorry, I got distracted because I had just had a present left for me that I'll take care of afterwards. Anyway. Oh, Jasper.
Oh, our fur babies.
This is why we're a unique podcast. It's completely organic. You never know what's going to happen, especially live. But
And we have fur babies.
and we have fur babies. But literally taking a look at that priority list. That what do you want?
Yeah.
And you can either do this with the assistance of somebody else. You could do it with one of us. Reach out, show us the list, whatever the case is. Okay, do you want this more than this? Okay, well, do you want that same thing more than this thing? And just going back and forth until you realize what it is that is most important to you. Because sometimes just looking at a list, oh God, I'm overwhelmed. There's so much that I want to accomplish. I don't know where to start.
So I also want to throw in there, because that happens, the overwhelm happens, and the prioritizing, the whole point of the prioritizing is to decide for yourself what is the most important to me.
Mm-hmm.
What do I value most? What would be most valuable in my experience right now? How can I love myself better right now and give myself greater opportunity for abundance in all forms of my life? So when you miss a day, or whatever your resolutions are, if you miss one, instead of beating yourself up, uh, ask yourself, why didn't I have that on the priority list?
Mm-hmm.
What is it that I feel within myself isn't worthy of achieving, having, being, whatever it is that you're working on?
Right.
And work through those issues. It only becomes a fizzolution if you decide not to actually work through what the heart of the issue for you falling off the wagon. Is it really not a priority and you just kind of willy-nilly decided, okay, this is what everyone else is doing? Like, analyze why you're fizzling
Yeah.
and get yourself back on a horse, or change what's on the list.
Right. Now I know.
Reprioritize.
Yeah, I know several people who, right towards the end of 24, had a lot of breakthroughs and were making a lot of new choices in their behavior, their mindset, their daily routine, whatever the case is. Now, for me, one of my priorities of 25, because I had some of the same breakthroughs, is to bring those in. That's one of my priorities, is to keep those going and not fall into old patterns of letting it fizzle out. And this isn't, okay, it might sound like a shameless plug, but it's not. The Break Free Rice Fears program that I just put together, I ended the bonus 4 on Monday. Now, I don't want to lose, and this is one of my priorities, is not to let that fizzle out just because the bonus promos are over.
Yeah. Yeah.
And to keep interest, and that's one of my priorities, is to keep people interested. Well, what is this all about?
Yeah.
So half shameless plug, half metaphor.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
So that's one of my priorities for
Yes.
2025, is to maintain the momentum that I began towards the end of 24.
Yeah.
So what we're asking you, the viewers, if there was something that you began last year that really started to affect your life in a positive way, bring that in, make that a priority to keep and maintain,
Right.
because you've already seen the positive impact that it has. If you are watching TV, looking at ads and saying, God, I wish I could have that person's body, you're not going to in 25. Let me tell you that right now. You're not going to. But you might in 26 if you start in 25 and keep up.
That part. So that's why I want folks to analyze if they feel themselves fizzling or notice themselves fizzling. Why aren't you getting yourself back into it?
Mhm.
What is stopping you? Is it just not a priority? Are you picking the wrong thing to attach your resolve to? And then shaming and guilting yourself and judging yourself for not actually following through. So now you're setting yourself in that hamster wheel, in that cycle of self-abuse where you're deciding, oh, well, what's the use? I can't do it anyway. Well, did you set yourself up to fail to begin with? And are you self-sabotaging by planting seeds of doubt and shame and guilt and judgment in your brain?
Yeah.
So I want you to pay attention to all of that stuff when you sense yourself losing the momentum. It's going to happen. Maybe there's an appointment that you can't reschedule that has to happen at the time that you scheduled for yourself to do your thing. Whatever, life happens and it's never a straight line. So the whole idea is to prevent the fizzolution part by getting yourself back on the wagon, acknowledging, whether it's, maybe it's not a priority, let me reevaluate, acknowledging life happens, acknowledging this is part of the
100
process because it's like
yes.
this.
100% yes.
So it's not just automatic. I'm going to stick to it and it's going to stick for everyone. Some people, yes, because they already picked their priority and they already are motivated and made a decision. So let's talk about the decision piece because a lot of this has to do with a decision. What are
And
we deciding on?
exactly. And that comes with the priority and what do you want?
Mm-hmm.
If you want better health, if you want better body, if you want better mindset, how can you gently, without needing to get out the umbrella to open up to prevent all those shoulds from showering on you?
Nobody wants to should have showered.
No. Try saying that 5 times fast.
No.
Yeah, I couldn't either. But take a look, start doing some research. Look around, look who's talking to whom, look who is following this fad. Is that fad working? Does that fad resonate? Does that program work for you? Does it look like something that you could actually follow? And here, guess what? If it doesn't work the first time, if you don't like it, if it's not working for you, I'm going to slow down right now and tell you something very straight. It's okay to change it.
Yeah. Stop judging yourself and shaming yourself. Do what's right. Reevaluate. Decide to reevaluate. Decide to eliminate self-sabotaging thought patterns and behaviors.
Mm-hmm.
Decide that you're choosing yourself, your health and well-being first, and that you're prioritizing your needs. Because this is also part of you meeting your own needs. Are you deciding to meet your own needs first? This is, all what's involved in why folks don't hang on to a resolution is because
Mm-hmm.
all this other little stuff that's surrounding it is not looked at or observed or acknowledged.
One of the potentially largest reasons that certain resolutions or decisions to change don't work is because they're not ecological. They may be something that you truly think that you want, but you've only thought about the fact that you truly want that. And you haven't thought about the fact that it's going to have on your life, the impact that it's going to have on your family, your children, your job. So take a look at those changes. Okay, God, I really want to move to a state or a town where there's a beach that I can get to all of the time because I'm tired of being in the mountains where it's cold all the time. Meanwhile, my is your, because we both know I'm gay, wife doesn't like the beach. She doesn't want to move here, but she'll go along with it. Meanwhile, things are starting to get tense between us because I'm really pushing forward to get to, do you see where this is going?
Yes.
This is not ecological. And that's one reason why, another reason why resolutions fizzle out and you wind up with a fizzolution because it's not ecological to the lifestyle that you actually want.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, that's an alignment thing too. Are you deciding to align yourself with proclamations of resolutions that actually fit what is meant for you and what works for you in your life? Is it realistic? Is it obtainable? Are you deciding to do something that's really not realistic or obtainable? And that's where you fall short. So when you're doing your reevaluation, when you do fizzle out, please take into consideration all those different factors so that you can choose and decide to maintain one thing that you want to shift in this year for yourself, right?
Yeah.
Do we have a chat going on?
I was just checking to see how many we had watching. I know we got D Morrison in the chat room. Hey D, quick shout out to you. Thank you for
Hi,
being
Dee.
here. She's been
That was
laughing at a lot of our banter today.
that was my nickname in my younger days, and it's starting to catch fire again. So we might be revitalizing that nickname for myself.
Oh my gosh. Well, if anyone, I mean, even if D, because right now she's in the room by herself, which is great. But if you have a question, comment, even after, if you're watching the replay, if you have a question or comment at any point, just type it into the comment section and we will, if you're in the live chat, put it in the live chat, but in the comment section, put it in. We'll be happy to answer that for you later on.
Yeah. So, Fizzolutions. I am doing well with my own personal resolution, which is incredibly realistic and obtainable, and that is to eat healthier and slow down. Of course, I have a wonderful partner that helps me with that, maintain it. So it's nice when you have someone to help you hold yourself accountable.
Yeah.
But ultimately, we have to hold ourselves accountable because ultimately I'm deciding to follow through. So that's something that I need to stick to for my own health and well-being. And I am worthy of having a healthy body, healthier body. So no more burnout mode. Back to my old self again. So now I need to get my body back up to speed. It's like this. We all go through these portions in our lives. We just got to bring ourselves back to what is more aligned with ourselves and what feels right to us.
And when your bar graph doesn't look like this all the time, and it looks more like this, don't celebrate the peaks. Celebrate the dips. Why? Why should you celebrate the dips?
Oh, I know. No, I'm kidding.
Go ahead. Tell them why.
Because you got to cheer yourself on. You have to acknowledge every step is an important step. Every single step. It doesn't matter how much you're judging its size,
Yeah.
because that's ultimately what it is. Get rid of the judgment. Don't judge what it looks like and how it goes and how fast or slow or inconsistent or whatever. Every step matters because that's what gets you to the next part.
Oh, and we just segued. Cool. Love it.
Okay.
Because so many times when people hit those low dips, instead of being like, okay, I could have done things better. All right, that didn't work. This is when they start to fizzle out, especially if they just keep hitting those low dips. So I don't know if you saw the other day, but so many of us have this tendency. I talked about this on Monday on the messengers, but so many of us have this tendency when we screw up, when we make a mistake. God, I'm such an idiot. I'm so stupid. I'm such a dumbass. Stop feeding the fuck ups. I'm getting in your face like I did on Facebook, like I did on the messenger. Stop feeding your fuck ups. Don't call yourself stupid, because in those moments when you dip and you make a mistake, you do something wrong, you fall off the bandwagon, you have that drink, you have that cigarette, whatever the case is, you messed up. Own it. Stand up again.
So maybe I'm going to offer something that sounds a little different. Let's say we, instead of considering them mistakes and fuck ups, instead shift our perspective of ourselves to, ooh, nice catch. You caught yourself in that programmed habit. Okay, now I'm going to consciously shift it right now. Go me for consciously shifting it and choosing to do something different right now because I
Yes.
caught myself. Yay, good job.
Yes.
That's what we need to start doing instead.
And your progress will stop fizzling out so quickly.
Right. Right.
Celebrate each step, even if you fall.
Mm-hmm. And stop calling them mistakes, because that in it of itself is self-sabotaging mentally, because you're considering it like you did something wrong. There is no wrong, there's only understanding. And that's, really what this is about, is understanding yourself so that you can self-improve
Yeah.
and decide what works for you and what doesn't work for you. So when you're fizzling out, recognize, and you're in those dips of that fizzle, recognize that it's okay. Your acknowledgement that you're fizzling and your conscious awareness of that fizzle is on point. Because in the past, a previous version of you wouldn't have even noticed and would have just maintained that self-sabotaging mentality. So in the acknowledgement, you already won. You already improved. Acknowledge that and pat yourself on the back. It's not cheesy. It's not too small. It's actually incredibly important and
Yep.
what's necessary to help you empower yourself to achieving that resolution. It's necessary.
Yeah.
Ooh, that was a mouthful.
And one of the things that I look at is when a mistake is made or something doesn't go right. Well, it used to be I would judge myself. I'd go into that negative self-talk of what I explained earlier. Now, well, that happened.
Mhm.
Okay. What do I do? What do I do now? That happened. Can't change it. Can't go back and fix it. Now, this is all of the subtext that I don't think to myself, but that's what this all means is, okay, that happened, can't change it, can't go back and correct it. All I can do is become aware of it.
Right. Right.
And okay, maybe and this, for the kids, let them run, let them fall. Why? Because they're resilient. They're going to get back up and continue running after they stop screaming. But if you stop what you're doing because a child fell, get onto them or, oh my God, sweetheart, are you okay? Check for blood, check for broken bones, check for those things, as they're having their internal reaction and they're starting to get all, oh my God.
Right.
When they're starting to get that way, just make sure that they're okay. Okay, well, let's just go take care of this real quick. Get them back out. Do this internally. Okay, you fell. So?
Yeah. Like why is it so bad? Is it because you're programmed to believe that it's so bad? Or is it because you really feel that way? And why do you really feel that way? Are you programmed to really feel that way? Because at the end of the day, our natural state of being is not judgment, is
Nope,
not resentment, is
nope.
not being mean to ourselves. Our natural state of being is pure and playful like a child. Think of it that way. If a 2-year-old does something that is off, he corrects himself without judging himself. He just tries something different. And I'm saying you get my point, is the what
That's
we
okay. I mentioned
learn.
wife earlier, and we all know that's not going to happen. So anyway,
Well, if I put it in those terms, I kind of bring up the idea that we didn't learn we were doing something wrong until somebody told us. And at that time, it probably wasn't healthy because times were different. Life was different.
yeah,
Reality is different. We're looking and seeking for different ways of being now that are healthier. And that's what we're doing. We're teaching you how to be healthier. So by reminding you that our natural state of being is not that of judgment, then it'll help you determine that, oh, this is a programmed judgment that I'm doing right now. This is a programmed belief. There's no need for me to be this upset with myself. It just is. And I'm acknowledging what it is. And now I'm going to choose and decide to shift my focus back onto me or whatever.
right.
That's it.
Carrie just joined the chat. Welcome,
Okay.
Carrie. And she was just talking about how years ago she fell 2 stories,
Wow.
and they picked her up, dusted her off, patched her up, sent her back.
Wow.
Don't stop and think. Just do it. Otherwise, the fear is going to start to set in,
Right.
and those fizzolutions.
Yeah. Well, and the idea is when the fear sets in is to acknowledge it's setting in and choose to get yourself out of it by doing these tiny little things that are not tiny at all. They're actually the bricks to the foundation to help you get spiritually, mentally stronger, emotionally stronger, and empower yourself to maintain the momentum.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
You
It'll
know,
be off
something else that just
sometimes.
came to mind when it comes to people fizzling out with their resolutions is all of a sudden things just start happening. They've made the change, they've made the decision, they've been doing all the things, and then all of a sudden, exactly what they were hoping for just starts appearing. And it starts happening at a pace that they weren't ready for. And a lot of people start to feel this, and they're like, oh, I just went through all that so that I could be here. I don't know if I like here. Oh, nope, I'm going back to how I was. That was easier. What do you got to say to that?
Okay. So when it comes to that, understand that where you're at now is where you're meant to be. And whatever it is that you ask for is meant for you to experience to determine if that is the right avenue for you. If it is it uncomfortable because it's unfamiliar, and we go to the familiar toxic, which is comfortable because we know what it looks like, instead of the unknown, peaceful and ease, like, at ease, calm that comes from being aligned.
Yeah.
See if that's it, or if it's really just not the alignment that you thought it would be. And now you learned, okay, well, I tried this now. I got it and I tried it, but now I guess it's not. But what did I learn that I didn't like so that I don't include that in my next level of moving myself forward?
Right.
So it's a reevaluation. It's either a reevaluation or am I, do I need some things to heal so that I'm not blocking me from experiencing this, which is really cool.
Now, an interesting metaphor or story just came to mind along those lines. When I was GM at Domino's and I would be hiring somebody new, or I would be training a new hire on how to make pizza, I'd show them several times. I'd work with them for a few days while they were slapping out the dough and making the discs. and putting the sauce on, putting the cheese on, the toppings. I'd go through all of that with them, step by step by step by step. And then as soon as I saw that they got it, I would wait for the hardest pizza to come across the board to get made and say, I'll be right back. And they would just look at me like, what? I can't, you're fine. And I just keep walking. Now, this is the type of thing that we're actually talking about where, okay, now most people don't want to have that kind of job, but when it's something that you want and you're just learning, and then all of a sudden you hit a point where all of this other information comes in and all of these other experiences start to come in. Can you handle it? Where are you at? It's to show you where you're at, give you leverage on what you still need to learn and what you still need to experience in order to continue moving forward. Are you going to continue moving forward? Are you going to stay where you are? Are you going to fizzle out and go back to who you were?
Right. And it's not a sink or swim kind of a thing. It's okay, well, here's an opportunity to practice the new healthy things you learned and actually implement them and integrate them into this new experience. It might be scary, but you got to have the courage to give yourself permission to do that and experience it fully by integrating it.
Mm-hmm.
It's practice. Think of it as practice. Okay, I get to practice what it is that I learned that I asked for to have, and now it's here, and now what?
Right.
Yep, bring it.
I mean, last year I made the discovery that I don't suffer imposter syndrome. I thought I did. No. But it doesn't have a name, so I gave it one. Outcast syndrome.
I like that. I'm sure many can relate.
And here's the why. And this is one of the things that I'm going to continue working on, and one of my goals for 25 is to figure out how to move away from that specific type of feeling. And I call it outcast syndrome because it's not that I'm not good enough or I don't think I'm not good enough at certain things that I do. It's because there have been so many times in my life that I felt like I was pushed to the side. That looks like, smells like, feels like kicked in. So I would be afraid to be pushed to the side again. It wasn't a matter of I don't think that I'm good enough. It wasn't a matter of I don't think I can do this. It was a matter of I don't think anybody wants this. So I gave it that title, and I was like, and it was so bizarre because I had this revelation after watching, of all things, Ghost Whisperer. And it was an episode where okay, we know that the main character, she can see ghosts. Well, she was face to face with a psychic who was just a very good intuitive and really good at reading people. And he began to feel like he was less than her. So I started thinking about it, and I was like, okay, I've been in that situation. I understand what he's going through. But wait, that's not how I feel, because I know that I'm good at what I do. So why have I been, oh my God, I've been an outcast all my life, and that's what I've carried into my adulthood.
Right. Right. And look at how far you've come.
Right?
Yeah.
I know I'm not your normal coach, and I'm a little cray-cray, but who ain't?
I'm not a normal coach either. I don't subscribe to the traditional methods of therapy. I'll incorporate a lot of them. I'll incorporate, cognitive behavioral, like, all types of whatever, but, I'll curse, I say the F word. I'm like,
So will I.
it's more, I'm going to say casual, but we dive deep and get to all the root issues,
Mhm.
So it's kind of fun in that way, but I've as far as my coaching world goes and my resolutions in that regard, I think this year I have brought more compassion with me on a different level, more layers of uh, everyone's timeline has to look the way it looks for them to experience what they need in order for them to grow,
Mm-hmm.
and deeper levels of validation and understanding for my clients that way. Because I've grown and I've learned from one year to the next myself.
Oh, yeah. And just from observation, if you don't mind my sharing, just from my observation in the past year, I've watched someone who loved themselves internally but didn't believe it completely. And now that you have,
Yeah,
and you've expanded that to setting better boundaries, putting your foot down, saying what you will and won't allow, all the while just continuing to build that self-love.
right.
Now that has expanded and somebody else noticed and helped to confirm that. They didn't validate it, they confirmed what you already knew
Yeah,
because they saw it.
yeah, yeah. That's the truth. Yep. And I'm still growing, honey. We all grow. We gotta
Exactly.
grow. And that's, and that's the thing we're talking about here is in order to maintain a resolution, you have to make the decision that you're going to do this. And it's going to stick and you're going to get comfortable with being uncomfortable. You're going to learn how to integrate to whatever new opportunities come because you made a choice and a decision to do whatever it is that's self-improving, because resolutions are supposed to be self-improvement.
Yeah.
And even if it's you're getting rid of a thought pattern or getting rid of a behavior, or getting rid of a belief system, that is still self-improvement on some level. I'm dedicated to personal growth and evolution. So for me, every year's resolution is just keep growing, just keep evolving.
And I'm not going to judge you hard anyway. If you're the type of person whose New Year's resolution is to make sure that their kids have better lives, I'm not going to judge you, especially if it's to make sure that they get to school on time or they get into that program or whatever it is for them, or that you're going to be a better employee for your boss so that they like you more. If I'm totally judging you, I'm so sorry. I should stop. It's about you. I don't look at the camera directly very often in these podcasts, but when I do, it's about you. Your New Year's resolution, the changes that you want to make aren't about or for anybody else in your life except for you.
Right. And you deserve to give yourself what it is that you need in order for you to evolve and have a better experience.
Yes.
You're worth it, really. And I think that's where the priority comes in. You're worthy of whatever that priority is, and you're worthy of reevaluating if that didn't work out the way you had originally thought it would, because you learned that it didn't by experiencing it.
Mm-hmm.
So giving yourself a chance to experience whatever it is part of the not losing the momentum flow, even though it looks like a it's still part of what you need to go through to get
Right.
to the other side.
Yes, Carrie, you did miss something. You missed the beginning of the show because you got distracted. That's okay. That's what the replay is for. You can go back and see what she's talking about with the priority list. Yes, I'm watching the chat too. So
And we covered a lot of bases with the Fizzolutions, and I think it's a lot of meat and potatoes for folks to help maintain their momentum flow once they get that started.
yeah. And you
Yeah,
know what's crazy is that all of the things that people, all of the individual things that people talk about wanting to change and do better and look better, feel whatever the case is, it's all connected.
it is.
It truly is all connected.
Mhm.
If you start to feel better about yourself, if you start to decide, or if you decide that you want to stop shooting on yourself and carrying around these emotional burdens or feeling like a burnout. Yes, I'm talking about my program now. I'm using those terms anyway. But what is it that's making you feel that way? You don't have to think of anything else except one thing. There's only one thing that's making you think about that. You,
Right.
your thoughts. There's only one thing that is causing your experience in your life. Your thoughts. They're connected to your feelings. You don't have a feeling without a thought. You don't have an experience. Nobody can give you an experience. Nobody can make you feel a certain way. It doesn't matter. Nothing, no one creates directly. They can inspire, but they don't create your experience. But once you start to shift how you feel about yourself and you don't fizzle out on that self-love, and that's a fizzolution no one wants. That's something to strive for, is to love yourself. And once you start doing that, you start making small changes. They just happen.
Right.
But they can't without your permission.
Right.
No one can wave a magic wand and say, "Pum, now
Yeah.
you're going to be slim. Pum,
Yeah.
now you're going to be rich. Pum, now you're going to live where you want to live. Pum, now you're not going to remember your past. Pum, now that's never going to happen." It doesn't work that way.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't. We walk through it and we help ourselves through it and we empower ourselves through it. So decide what you want, prioritize that list, reevaluate it if it's not working, find out why you're fizzling, understand yourself, and decide to change it up so you keep that momentum flowing for yourself because you are worthy and you deserve it. And go be badass this year.
So that by the end of this year, you're looking forward to celebrating what
Hmm.
happened this year
Right.
instead of, God, I can't wait for 26.
Hmm. Don't forget, as you're mentally getting yourself into this momentum state, to reflect on how much you've grown in the past year. Like Mike and I just reflected on how much we've both grown this past year as individuals. Don't forget to reflect and, do one of these for yourself and acknowledge how far you've come.
Yes,
That's all very important.
it's so important.
Yep. Go get them. I
Cele-
think I think we've
Celebrate.
pretty much covered everything.
Now it's just like you and I are gabbing, and they're speaking in. So, but I'm really looking forward to seeing what other topics season 2 of Phoenix Talks is going to have. Probably notice that changed the picture too, because we needed a fresh new look for the second season.
Of
So
course. Of
we ain't
course.
going nowhere yet, and I hope that you continue on with the conversation with us. Next week we'll be back 6 p.m. right here again on my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for tuning in or watching the replay or whenever you're seeing this. Don't forget to click subscribe if you haven't already, so that it'll be like, hey, Phoenix Talks is on now. You want to come watch?
Yes. You can find either Micah or I on Facebook, and I'm sure you'll post our little things on the YouTube.
Yes, I will.
Micah is also tech support.
For as far as that
Producer.
for this.
Right. What was producer, whatever you wear all the hats.
So we don't know what the topic is going to be next week, but watch out for that promo. It'll be everywhere that I have social, as long as I can get it done fast enough. But who knows what it's going to be. Till next time.
We'll find out.
Love you.
Love you. Happy New Year.
We love you.